show this morning, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
That's right. Well, it has been quite a journey to have you here, and I'm glad that you're finally here, for this discourse. I mean, this is something, the discourse is very pertinent, especially in a time like this when Nigerians are going through, to say the least, the hardest of the times. I mean, we saw it not so pretty during the former President Buhari's administration, and quite a number of persons had said, you know what, with the coming of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, all of the Buhari woes and the pain and the hardship would be in the past. But the incumbent president, upon taking office, said subsidy is gone. This, of course, began to become the discourse upon which economists and other well-meaning Nigerians have hinged, the frailty and the economic, challenges that we face on. Whether or not that was a good decision to have made, I mean, the president recently, to reiterate his standpoint, said he made that decision to save Nigeria and to save the future generation that is to come. But fast forwarding to where we are at today, we have seen the tussle between the NNPCL as well as Dangote Refinery, where of course the president had given a standing order saying that there should be a naira to crude sales of the commodity in itself. Dangote recently came out to cry foul, saying that that's not been the case, and NPCL is saying come back to the drawing table, we can actually sort things out. But then here we are again, and there's been licensing for a refinery. I mean, the federal government, through the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, has approved licenses for the construction of 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 new refineries. Now, these refineries will add 140 barrels per day to Nigeria's domestic refining capacity. Not just that, 100,000 barrels per day refinery license was granted to a Gudu Refinery Limited in Edo State. 30,000 barrel per day refinery license was granted to MB Refinery and Petrochemicals Company Limited in Delta State, and a 10,000 barrels per day refinery license was granted to HIS Refining and Petrochemical Company Limited in Abia State. Now, if we are to look at all of these together, what comes to your mind? Is this a step in the right direction? Is this a step forward? Is this a way to indeed take us out of the woods?
Thank you very much for your opening remarks.
All right. Appreciate
what is obvious is that Nigeria is leaving behind the constrained economic space of yesteryears. Seriously speaking, we know that perhaps the most sensitive issue to talk about on here has to do with subsidy removal.
Right.
It provides comfort, convenience, and of course reduce costs of living. But again, the truth of it is at what cost? What is the opportunity cost of subsidy? The opportunity cost of subsidy, in actual fact, in economics, it's those infrastructure that we have always clamored for that cannot be provided because we are using money that we are supposed, the extra funds, extra revenue that we are supposed to use in providing infrastructure. And of course, infrastructure are those projects, especially the hard infrastructure, which we translate into railway lines,
right,
airports, and other forms of projects that provide convenience and facilitation of businesses and, of course, movements of goods and services, and of course enable the business environment too. You also have the social infrastructure, health facilities, schools, and such like. Now, when we over the years, because we have been able to truncate, we have truncated actually the basis of the subsidy. We are not developing, and at the same time, it would appear as if what we are supposed to use in providing infrastructure that makes our life easier, that grows our economy, we decided to consume, And because we decided to consume, the basic fundamentals of subsidy is controlled price. When a jurisdiction control the price of PMS, for instance, it does mean that you are only looking at consumption. You are not looking at production. No individual private sector-led industry would be motivated to invest in refinery, for instance,
right.
if the price is controlled. And that is why over a long period of time, the first time licenses were issued for the establishment of refineries was during the Obasanjo period. I think 18 licenses were issued between 2005 and 2006.
Right.
And up till 2018, none of those licenses were operational, principally because, of course, refiners and investors were like, if we go into, if we establish or invest in these refineries, how are we sure of our profits? Because at every point in time, there's clarity in terms of where the price is. And price is a major determinant of supply, of any goods in any jurisdiction. So what we're experiencing now is actually the fact that price has been, open to market forces, and refiners and investors could come in either locally or as foreign investors, to take advantage of that price, and of course establish refineries. Now, the most important issue here, or the most important perspective in this consideration, is the fact that you now have a system change, a paradigm change in the use and, of course, the value chain in our crude oil production or crude oil sphere. Whereas we have always had to export our crude oil in the raw form and take them out of Nigeria,
right.
And of course now import back refined products, and in the most inequitable manner, we import just one major byproduct of crude oil, premium auto spirit, which is also known as petrol.
Yes.
Meanwhile, in the value chain or the byproducts chain of crude oil, you have close to 35 byproducts. Wow. So you do yourself a lot of economic hurt, by exporting your crude oil
in its raw form,
and taking just one product back. Already you have jettisoned, abandoned those other products that are also economic products. In that you have AGO, you have LPFO, you have HPFO, you have all manners of chemicals that are used in the petrochemical industries and all that. So what we are now doing, what we are now experiencing is actually economics at work, where price has encouraged private sector, and that is why we have a Dangote coming into that sphere, which is 650,000 barrels a day refining capacity. You have, of course, the NNPC that is being resuscitated. We have seen the Port Harcourt refineries, old refinery at 60,000 old refinery capacity, and we are hopeful that in the near future we have the 150,000 second Port Harcourt refinery. We have seen the Warri 120,000 refinery that is now producing at 70%. And of course, to a large extent, the price modulation or the price competition, or in other words, if you want to put it as appropriate, the price war that we have been experiencing or witnessing in recent time, whereas you have the Dangote refinery coming up with price reduction, and of course the NNPC refinery is also announcing competitive pricing, are major benefits, of competition, because you now have active investors in that space.
Right.
But going forward, what would of course impress us is to have more refineries, and that is why you are talking about this 140,000
barrels per day.
addition per day to the refinery sphere. Of course, you also have other already that are very near. We have Walter Smith. These are modular refineries.
Right.
Walter Smith, 10,000 barrels. I think another one in Delta, 5,000 barrels and all that. Up to now, when calculated, we have up to 850,000 capacity, refinery capacity in Nigeria. And in addition to this 140,000, we are nudging 1 million, barrels refining capacity. Now, this has various multidimensional benefits for the Nigerian economy.
Right, exactly. And just recently, we also saw the landing cost of premium motor spirit dropping to 774 naira to a liter, which is, of course, cheaper than the ex-depot price of Dangote's refinery's fuel, which stood at 825 naira to a liter. Now, it gets on certain expectations that Nigerians will have. When we hear these issues of, okay, finally, there's some refineries being given licenses and all of that, Nigerians are saying, when we hear drop in naira in the price, shouldn't we just see the drop, in the cost of transportation and all of that? Why is it taking so long, for it to drop? Because when we first heard subsidies gone, it felt like everything shot all at once after that pronouncement. But when there's a drop, we don't see a lot of changes.
Well, I think we are seeing some form of changes.
Right.
We have to look at the space objectively.
Okay.
When Dangote first declared or announced his price, it was up to 1,200, 1,250 per liter. I think now we're talking about 860 in Lagos. It depends on where you are. Don't forget that before now, the Nigerian government used to pay bridging costs, which to distributors, marketers. The effect of that is to ensure that price of commodity of PMS is the same all over the country.
Okay.
So the federal government was responsible for the price of a liter, the movement of a liter of PMS from Lagos, where it lands at the port, to any part of the country. But again, that is also subsidy. So the reality is that you allow the movement of goods at a cost, at a practical, objective cost, and add it to the delivery, cost of the product. So what we have now are pricing, whereas you are most likely to have the cheapest rates in Lagos, and perhaps the highest rates further any jurisdiction that is further away from Lagos. So I think the important thing here is to look at the benefit, the sovereign benefit, and of course the GDP benefit.
So what would they be? What would these benefits be? Because I'm sure that family members who are listeners right now are very eager to know what these benefits will be in the coming days.
So now, whereas we have had over a long period of time, our capital aspect or the capital side of our budget, very, very minimal. Yeah, very, very minimal. We sometimes, most often, the capital budget of the country is less than 30% of the total profile of the annual budget.
So when we say the capital, side of the budget, what are we saying exactly, so that the listener, understands?
So the budget has two sides.
Okay.
The recurrent aspect of the budget and the capital aspect of the budget.
Right.
The recurrent aspect is like you are in a household. Your recurrent will be the allowances you give your wife.
Oh, okay.
The pocket money you give your children when they are going to school. The money you use to buy food in the house.
Okay.
So in the budget, your recurrent are salaries and allowances. And now, what you have, the situation you have is if you are spending so much on recurrent, you are actually spending for a small number of people in the country, because you are spending for employed civil servants, public servants. Those in the civil service are those politicians, that also have appointments. So that basically is your recurrent. And you also have what you call debt servicing. It's also part of your recurrent. So those are your recurring. They are not directly impacting on the average person, the average citizen. you know. But when you say capital, capital is that revenue or the fund that is allocated to providing, to ensuring that roads are built,
Infrastructure development.
infrastructural development, railways line are constructed, airports are constructed and maintained, you know. Schools are constructed and maintained, health centers are constructed, general hospitals and all that. It is the capital side, you know, of the budget that enables this. And the lesser you allocate your capital, the lesser the provision of this important infrastructural projects. So what it means over time is that we have actually been consuming, you know, revenue hand that could have gone into capital through subsidies, you know. So now I think there is a large savings, you know, from recurrent that are now being directed or are reallocated to capital. And that is why in the 2025 budget, for the first time, you have allocation to the capital capital side of the budget as much as 24 trillion. And we're talking about, for the first time again, you have a capital budget size that is more than 40% of the total budget size. Now, for us, that is exciting because now more revenue had been allocated to provision of capital,
right?
You know, and that impacts the larger percentage of Nigerians. It impacts doing business. It impacts movements of goods and properties. It impacts education. It impacts health, good health, and all that. So, to a large extent, is a trade-off. Do we want to continue with the subsidy that, of course, yes, we consume at a relatively cheaper rate, but again, we are losing in terms of the wider needs of the people. We want to move from one point to the other in the country. It's difficult.
So isn't that even inimical, you know, to the very idea of subsidy is gone? Because one of the reasons that, one strong reason that the president at the time had said subsidy was gone was that it will allow us save up monies that will indeed go into capital, you know, projects and all of that. But are we seeing or reaping the benefits of these subsidy is gone, you know, pronouncement by Mr. President, especially knowing fully well that state allocations, just as you've mentioned now, there's more money flowing coming from that end, you know, is where Nigerians, you know, would also be asking from. Because if more monies are also given to state governments, right, and governors rather, it is expected that these states will indeed begin to spearhead certain activities that should ameliorate the hike or the price range for this commodity in their respective states.
So to a large extent, I've been talking about the management of revenue resources and allocation of revenue by the federal government. Thanks for bringing in the subnationals, the state government. But what we both agree on the fact that there have been increase in revenue generated by the federation. Right. When I say federation, it's different from the federal government.
Right. Okay.
So when we're talking about federation, we are talking about the totality, you know, of the geopolitical components of the country. We're talking about the federal government, state government, and the local government. So since the removal of subsidy,
right,
what is obvious is that there had been a huge increment, you know, in the revenue available for the federation to share.
Right.
So perhaps more than 80%, you know, and as you said, now smile to the banks. Exactly. Not just the state alone, local governments also smile to the banks,
especially with the autonomy that they've been granted.
Yeah. But again, our constitution is so structured that none of the layers of government have oversight right over the others.
So in the constitution, like that.
That's the constitution. Wow. Our constitution makes the federal government independent of the state. The state is also independent of the federal government.
All right.
The federal government cannot possibly whip in hand, or cane in hand, decide or determine what or how the state government will spend their money. So you now have a situation where there is a huge increase in allocation, and of course even in receivers by the state government. So who will now monitor how they spend their money? Of course, the people. So we need more Nigerians, and that is one of the advocacy of my own group. Right. We need more Nigerians to be more conscious of their relationship between, their relationship with the state government and, in fact, the local government, because most Nigerians first live in a ward before they live in a local government, and a ward is in the local government. And it is the activities of the local government that you actually see firsthand before you even cite what the state is doing. So first, question how your local government authorities or management are spending money, allocated to them. And it's not just about money allocated to them, it's money allocated to them and internally related revenue. So the average Nigerians need to start asking questions. If the roads in your neighborhood are not good enough, you have a right to go ask why in your local government. If the roads, trunk B roads, those are what they call the state government road. That is a road that takes you, for instance, from your ward to your state capital. If they are not good enough, you need to question how the state government are providing, for this road. If schools are not properly maintained, you need to question, why these roads, these schools are not properly maintained, because there is now larger, huge, bigger allocation of funds to the state government. Right. So there is no reason to give excuses. If they were doing 30% before, the funds available at given their capacity to scale up to 50 to 60%. So let Nigerians start asking questions. Yes, ask questions in Abuja, which is the federal government, but it is not enough. 95% of Nigerians are distant, equidistant. The equidistance of most Nigerians is more than 500 kilometers to Abuja. So you cannot be too dependent, and of course guide your outlook on federal or national development on what is happening in Abuja alone. Look at your equidistance from your ward, your neighborhood to your state capital, for instance, or the equidistance from your ward to your local government headquarters. Those are the first areas of engagement to see that resources are properly used, are properly allocated, and of course in a way that impacts you. So I know people that throughout their lifespan, they didn't pass more than 200 square meters, of their neighborhood. 200 square meters.
Throughout their lifetime.
Throughout their life. The schools they went about sometimes 150 meters from their house. The hospital about 100 meters from their house. Markets about 60 to 80 meters from their residences. Their family, the family unit, also within that 200 square meters. Radius. So everything is in that square meters, in that 200 square meters. So what impacts them is what the kind of development they see in that 200 square meters. And it is the local government first that provides that. And then next, the state. And of course, the federal government.
All right, I'll put a pause to your thoughts now. Let's just go on this recess. We will be right back in a short bit. It is Eagle's Outlook, and we are looking at the federal government okaying some new refineries in the country. Abia State is one, Delta State, Edo State another, and what impact this will have on us as a people and as Nigerians and as Nigeria. Don't go away.
Your number one radio experience you can count on. Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Are you a Nigerian undergraduate with big ideas for change? Are you passionate about governance, activism, and social impact? Do you want to create real impact in your community and have your voice heard on key national issues? The Youth Leadership Development Program YLDP 2025 is here. This is your chance to gain first-class leadership training, mentorship, and secure up to 2.5 million naira to bring your community change projects to life and advocate for the Nigeria we want. Don't miss out. Visit www.nigeriayouthfund.org to apply now. Application deadline is 14th March 2025. Time is ticking, so hurry. YLDP 2025 is powered by the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, NYFF, and implemented by Leap Africa.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Consumer protection is our collective responsibility. Are you a stakeholder, government agency, regulatory body, association, private company, or non-governmental organization? You are invited to the 7th Consumer Protection Conference 2025, scheduled to hold as follows. Date 14th of March 2025. Venue Novare Hall, Wuse Zone 5, Abuja, beside PDP Secretariat. Time 10 a.m. Theme: transparency, information, responsible consumption. It is also in the commemoration of World Consumer Rights Day. Announcer: Save the Consumers Initiative. For inquiries and partnership, please call 070-3215-0324. Partners: FCCPC, SON, and others. Be there.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
And yes, we're back from that recess now. 34 minutes gone past the hour of 9 on the AM side, and we're still looking at the approval of new refineries given licenses to operate in the country. And it's there are expectations of 140,000 barrels per day, right? And we're looking at this impact, the expectations Nigerians have too as well in this light, as we engage this discourse with our guest, Dr. Ni Akinsiju, who is the chairman, Independent Media and Policy Initiative. We'll open the phone lines now so you too can add your voice loudly and clearly in the arena of the outlook. 0907-353-0044 is that number to call. The other number would be 0908-766-8888. Hello and good morning.
Good morning, Lady.
Yes, good morning to you, please.
And good morning to our guest.
Right. What's your name? Where you calling?
This is Felix.
Felix.
Felix
All right.
from Lambert.
Felix, welcome aboard. Talk to us, Felix.
Yeah. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to ruffle feathers on very sensitive issues like this. It's true that we are expecting impact from the 140 estimated production capacity license regulation, in addition to that of Dangote. But you will agree with me, both the private refineries existing and the ones that are about to come to be with public refineries put together, the production capacity of all this is only a little bit above half of the production capacity of Dangote refinery. And that will mean that at the end of the day, the decision will still lie with Dangote. That's how the overall say in the oil market. I am not against that. I see nothing wrong about that. I'm only praying and hoping that more persons will come into the private sector of our investment.
Right.
As our guest rightly pointed out, when we had the submission that subsidy is gone, we are thinking that the excesses or the accruing benefit from subsidy is gone policy would go into capital ventures. But we didn't see that. Now what we saw was an increment in the allocation to the federations. And our guest is saying the people should ask questions from the federating units, both local government, state government, And me and you know that the interaction and the dialogue between governors and the governed is very, very lean. And that dialogue and that discourse is not really happening. What do we have? Excess corruption in the system, excess mismanagement. Who do we go to? Why? Who do we go to and ask the necessary question we need to ask? About the excess money that is coming to us as a result of subsidy is gone. This is my question. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Felix, for that one. Do appreciate that. Well, let's get with you already, Doctor.
I like the caller's question.
Right.
But the reality, just like I said, the Constitution is so structured in a way that the layers, we have 3 layers of government in Nigeria, as embedded in the Nigerian Constitution. And the lawyers will tell you that the Constitution is a grown norm. There's nothing above it and there's nothing below it. It's strictly as it is and should be seen as such. So you have the federal government, you have the state government, and you have the local government. The federal government does not oversight the state government.
Is it supposed to be so? Is it not supposed to be so? That's what I'm saying.
When you are operating a federal system,
Yeah.
that is how it is.
Are we really practicing that in the real terms of situation?
That's another
A kettle for another day. Okay. All right. We'll leave it there.
But the truth of the matter is, at the heart of the Constitution is the power of the people. The realization of the power and the capacity of the people to engage in conversation and communication with any layer of government are also enshrined in the Constitution. So as far as the Constitution is concerned, the most powerful office in the Nigerian Constitution is the office of the citizen. The office of the citizen. So every citizen has a right of advocacy. If we allow the governors to grow into emperors, as it were, it is because we allow them. When in your opening remarks, you rightly, attributed the mandate you have as a leading radio station to the mandate given to you or the support given to you by listeners. That those people are the heart, of your operations. Just like the Nigerian citizens, are at the heart of political relationship. Don't forget that at every end of 4 years tenure, a government, either at the local, states, or federal, would have to come back to the Nigerian people to renew, the mandate.
Right.
It is the decision of the people, to either renew or not to renew.
So are you saying that the people should wait for another 4 years?
It is not. That is one.
Okay,
that is one aspect of oversight, citizens' oversight.
Okay.
You also have citizen advocacy. Citizen advocacy would translate to, of course, we want to address press conferences. You want to gather yourself in a peaceful assembly to talk about what ought to be. And Nigerians need to understand that. What ought to be, that is the ideal. That is the objective, of what good can be. And that at every point in time, anybody managing our resources at whatever level should be responsible and accountable, to the Nigerian people wherever they are. And just like I said earlier, the 200 square meters radius people, are the larger percentage of Nigerians. So if someone living in Mushin, for instance, or in Yanya, let's say Yanya, people in Abuja understands what Yanya is.
Yes.
In Yanya, the person living in Yanya is about 30 kilometers away from the Abuja city center. So what he wants to see is life in his immediate environment, good road, good schools, good health facilities. Those are the things he wants to see. Unfortunately, it is not the federal government that is responsible for providing this.
So who's responsible?
The state and the local government. The local government, by the dictates of our constitution, is responsible for primary school administration. But the federal government, again through intervention, has SUBEB, to provide, to support the local government, in constructing classrooms, for instance, but not in managing the schools. It is the local government that are responsible for payment of teachers' salary. Then the Nyanya person is complaining that federal government, the teachers are not paid and federal government is not paying their school fee. No, it is the local government.
So in the light of this now, as we look at, some of the gains and expectations of Nigerians, should these expectations be channeled towards the efforts from the local governors or government itself and not federal? Is that what you're saying?
All layers.
All layers. Particularly which?
The federal government has its responsibility to the Nigerian people. The state governments respectively have their responsibility, to their state constituents. And then the local governments have responsibility to the local government within their geographical space. So, but what I'm saying essentially is it is time for Nigerians, wherever they are, to start asking questions, not just about what Tinubu is doing, not just about what Buhari did in the past and all that,
right,
but of course what the governors are doing, what's the how the governors are actually spending their money. And there should be, we should not be in this state of hopelessness that we cannot engage our governors. They are our citizens, they are our servants. If we did not support or vote for them, they cannot be in that office. So we need them to be accountable to us. See, between 2015 and 2023, the highest possible monthly allocation, federal allocation that was shared, was about 700 billion. And at a point, it went to as low as 300 billion. So that tells us that revenue generated at that time was poor. But in the last 14 months, we have had an average of 2 trillion naira. That's a quantum leap.
Let me put a peg to your thoughts. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning to you, Elder Onaja.
Elder Onaja is my name. I'm calling from Koga in Abuja.
All right, Elder, let's get into it. 1 minute, if you can.
Yeah, my guest I speak well, but I have questions for him.
Oh, okay.
So you ask questions.
Yes.
Who are you going to ask questions? If you go back to your local government, you can see some of local government to asking questions. Talking of a governor. You see the way they arrange something in Nigeria here, some man don't have access to question the government. They are gangs. If you talk too much, they will call you as opponent party, they will send a talk to deal with you. So we poor people don't have time to ask the government the way you are spending the money, the way you are doing roads. The system is not, the type of system you are seeing is not existing in Nigeria here. If you go to your local government, your own local government now, as we talk, go to your local government to see tax law. They're presenting a word. The councillor will dodge you. We can't listen to you. They spend the money as they get it, they spend it their own way. And they not feel a reason. And if they are talking about subsidy, I want to ask you, just tell me, this is where they remove subsidy from a petrol. What's the benefit? We common benefit from government. Hardship, inflation. Now the petrol is coming down in the world market. They are reducing the price of petrol. The price of transport is not reduced. The price of food in the market is not reduced. They are making propaganda that the prices have reduced in the market or this and this. There's nothing to do. This petrol subsidy will continue. Are we going to continue at this in Nigeria? Inflation. Thank you very much. God bless Nigeria. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Elder. Right. Just before you, add your voice to that, let's quickly go see this message right here. It's coming from Abbas, all the way from Dutse. He was reporting. He says, good morning, Sir UD and a guest and the listener. Good morning to you, Abbas. Well, it says, oil marketers in Nigeria who still engage on product importation have no business to continue to be importing product. It says, with Nigeria's current domestic refined capacity, marketers ought to buy product at either Dangote or NNPCL refinery. So why are they still going about importing products? Showing this imported petroleum products are even more much more cheaper to import into Nigeria. Well, that's not very clear. But he goes on to saying, again, with Nigerians' refined capacity, fuel ought not to be more than 450 naira per litre, and the issue of naira or dollar crude ought not to come up again. No OPEC country sells products for domestic consumption in their country in dollars. They even give their homegrown refineries consensus at more reduced rate. So why is ours? NPCL needs to sit down and do the right thing. And this one here says, kudos to the resource person in the studio, very versatile. All right, indeed, it is important for all the citizens now to stand on our toes, to be up and doing, ask questions, and above all, government should engage, ignore checks and balances to avoid excesses and tyranny. It says, for absolute powers corrupt absolutely. Okay, Sanusi from Sulejat there says good morning, and this one is going to be the last. Good morning to UUD and the guest. Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Resources Authority has issued refining licenses to 3 companies to build new refineries, and I ask, to what effect? Lest we forget, as of 2022, the regulator had issued licenses to 23 firms to build refineries in different parts of the country, but to date, NMDPRA has not bothered to tell us the status of those refineries. Instead, they are licensing new ones, the same way NMDPRA indiscriminately licensed millions of petrol stations across the country without regulation. NMDPRA should not bother us with refineries if they cannot perform their statutory functions. Yusuf from Wusei 2 has that to say. And let's see. Oh, I wish I can take some more, but I'll just wrap up with this now. Good morning, Daniel. I greet you and your guest. I'm in Nasarawa State. My question is, what channel do we ask our leaders at the state and local government levels or questions? In most cases, these people boast about doing whatever they like. After all, we didn't vote for them. Many governors, their election were controversial. Local government chairman is even worse because governors simply appoint them in office. They can be under. Well, I mean, I don't know if you can. I know there's a lot to say now, but if you can, just maybe in a minute, Doctor, if you can, for want of time.
Let's just look at engaging authorities.
Right.
The easiest channel to engage authority is the media.
And that's what we're doing.
Yes, that is what we are doing. And people at different level, should continue to engage the media. People are listening.